Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag from the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
We're back this week on a new radio station, WCLU. You guys can check us out now. It's 103.1 and 104.7 and a couple of AM stops if you're still into that kind of thing. Of course, we're still going to record the show, and you can catch it online on the WCLU radio website, and for at least a little while longer for our 104thescore.com, you can catch it on there as well. But we're going to kind of break the show down. We're into the playoffs of high school football. This is James Brown, John Butler, in case you guys missed that intro. And so we're going to break it down, and we're going to do 3 segments, each talking about different football teams. So we're going to talk about Barren County at Henderson County this coming Friday. You'll be able to hear that game on 104.7 with Jay Turner on the call. John, you going to be able to make it to that game?
Don't know, because my nephew is in the playoffs at Lafayette.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility I may be going there. Right now it's undecided, but leaning toward, he starts offense and defense at Lafayette and made the playoffs, so I may. And they're a 2 seed, not just they made it. Everybody makes it. Yeah. So I may have to go, but we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So I was going to say you don't want to take that trip to Henderson County, but if you're going to Lexington for a football game, then that's
a good trip either way. That's right.
Yeah. So Barren County will be playing at Henderson County. We're going to talk a little bit about Barren County's season leading up to this point, how they ended up on the road. And I will tell you this, they beat Allen County on Friday night 30-22. And John and I talked a little bit, I think it was on Saturday. And, I made the comment to John that if Barren had played like that in every game this season, there was a good chance they were undefeated going to the playoffs and hosting a first-round playoff game, because I think Allen County's the best team they've played this year, just in terms of consistency and that kind of thing. Now, North Hardin might have some more raw talent, but this has been an outstanding year for Allen County. Prior to that loss to Barren, I think they had only lost to Paducah Tillman, I think.
That's right.
And Paducah Tillman's maybe one of the top 5 teams in the state, talent-wise. So, it's kind of like if you can win against Allen County, you potentially can beat anybody you play, I would think. Maybe not Paducah Tillman, but anybody you had on your schedule prior to that game. So you kind of have to look at what we talked about last week when they lost the game against Central Hardin. The mistakes during the course of the year caught up with them in the Central Hardin game. And even if you go to the North Hardin game, in a lot of ways, the penalties caught up with them in that game. And so, the Trojans are looking like a team capable of going on the road in the first round of the playoffs and potentially winning at Henderson County. They certainly have proven they can compete at whatever level they need to in order to have a shot.
Oh, there's no question about it. It's I just was thinking about the Allen County win. I think it's the first time that we've beaten Allen in 19 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, we haven't played every year. There's been some gaps, but have lost several times. In 19 years, so not won one game. And to be honest with you, a lot of the games have been blowouts. Don't get me wrong. There's been some close ones, but there have also been some blowouts. And I was just thinking about the win, and I hate to use hyperbole, exaggeration, all the stuff that goes into stuff.
Yeah.
But it in my 30 years of covering Barren, that's top 5 wins.
Yeah.
That's one of the top 5 wins that I can think of. Because Barren was probably a 2-touchdown underdog against an Allen team. Now, listen, Barren's having a great year too. 8-2, finished 8-2, but coming off a loss. But this is one of the better Allen County teams too. It's one of the better Allen County teams that they had since probably the state final team they had about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
and to bounce back after the disappointing loss against Central Hardin. I think it's fair to say the Central Hardin loss was disappointing in the sense that to this day I think Barren wins 8 out of 10 times. And when you lose and when you think you should win, and much of it is self-inflicted, the 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles, and they've actually fumbled 4 times, but lost 3 of them. It's not only is disappointing, it's discouraging.
Yeah.
But to come back the next week and to play arguably the best game that I think we played all year. You can say Warren East, but the Warren East game, the defense didn't play good.
Right.
You know, it's 60-52. The defense was terrible.
Yeah.
In this game against Allen, to hold Allen to only 22 points, and that is one of Allen's lowest of the year outside of Paducah Tillman, I believe. Mm-hmm. And to have a couple of interceptions. I know Tate had an interception. Spillman, I know Bray Bewley had the interception to end the game.
Yeah.
You know, I just a fantastic bounce back win. Give the kids a lot of credit. Give the coaching staff a lot of credit. And you know, people go, well, if you played that way last week, then you know we'd probably be hosting a playoff. That is true, but you can say that a lot in a lot you know, a lot of situations. And teams, what I would say is sometimes is that teams evolve and they improve, and sometimes it takes a tough loss to bounce to I don't know, to improve, to see your own weaknesses and so forth, and sometimes you just got to give the other team credit too.
Right.
But this was a tremendous win, and to be honest with you, a little unexpected, but I thought for us to beat a Henderson County team, something like this would have to happen.
Right.
This win, the confidence, which kind of gets that momentum back, and going against a good Henderson County team, not a great one, but good.
Yeah.
You know, if we can put some type of performance like this one against Henderson County, we will have a chance to win.
You know, often on this show, you as a former coach have said there are bad wins and good losses. And it felt like to me that a lot of the season for Barren County on football, they had some bad wins because they won the games despite doing everything they could not to. And it wasn't just, I mean, they found ways to win games when they did a lot of things that in the past would have, you know, Barren County would have lost those games. And so that's kind of a positive. But on the flip side of that, it also seemed to build this fake sense of security of, well, we can win games even if we don't play our best. And then they go and play Central Hardin, a team they know they should beat, and they make the mistakes they make. So you're right, to come around, and this is a significant, to me, transformation in Barren County football. Because in the past, if they'd have lost a game like they did to Central Hardin, they'd have come back the next week and just gotten run over by Allen County. I mean, we saw it a couple of times even last year. They got off to a good start. They lost the game they felt they should have won. The game at Glasgow that went into double overtime.
The game at Monroe.
Game at Monroe last year. And then they just kind of floundered after that. So it is a credit to this group of players and this coaching staff to get them to realize, you know what, we lost that game. We're going to have to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs. But really for us, in a way, the playoffs started last Friday.
Right.
You know, because we got to show that we deserve the opportunity and that we can go to Henderson County and compete. And they did that.
Yep.
And so now you look at it and you're like, okay, before they played that Allen County game, I just said they have no chance of going to Henderson County and winning. Now I'm like, no, they do have a chance.
If you're good enough to beat Allen, you're good enough to go on the road to beat Henderson. Now, the Central loss, the Central Hardin loss, is you can't do anything about it now, but it is important.
Yes.
Unlike, you know, it's like in basketball when you lose a district game in the regular season that you have no business losing, and it ends up affecting your seed.
Yes.
And now you play a team that's much harder to defeat than otherwise. And rather than hosting a bad Christian County team
right.
that I have no doubt we'd win.
Yeah.
Now it's tougher. So that's why that loss to Central Hardin was such an important loss. But to give those guys credit, I tell you what, and to give the coaching staff credit too. You know, they made some subtle adjustments. Dalen Thomas was big. I think he carried it 14, 15 times. I don't have the stats, but he got the ball a lot more, and I thought that was effective. I saw one of the touchdowns he had, you know, which he's just so tough when he gets going. And defensively, give the coaches on that side, I think Coach Perkins and people on that side, so much credit. You know, after the disaster early against Warren East, 52 points, they've given up 15, 7, 6, 14, 0, 20 to Central Hardin, and one of those was a kickoff return.
Yes.
And then 22 to Allen County. I mean, give them a whole lot of credit as well. well done. 8-2. I think if you asked people before the year, will you take 8-2?
Oh yeah.
I think most people would go yes. And you probably, if you think you're 8-2, you're probably thinking you're a 2 seed as well.
Yes.
2 losses are the Central Hardin and North Hardin.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Henderson County here because they are. Well, what is their record? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 4-6, I believe. Their last game, they lost to Owensboro on Friday night, 28-14. Their offense was different at the beginning of the year. They had a kid named Traden Davis, I believe was his name, playing quarterback. He threw the ball a fair amount, but he also ran. So I'm guessing, they kind of probably did some read option related stuff. I'm guessing he's out with an injury. He hadn't played the last 4 games. I think he played the first 5, so he hadn't played the last 5 games. And they have Brody Belt has come in and played quarterback for him. And he's played some. I mean, he's played 8 total games, but he's played the last 5, I think, total. Full-time starter. They throw the ball a little more with him in terms of he doesn't run the ball. He's more just a passer, looks like. They have a running back, Anthony Burris, who is their leading rusher with 1,005 yards. And Davis was their second leading rusher before he got injured. He had only 218. So, I mean, they don't, even despite the fact that they lost to McCracken County 59-57, and they put up 49 against Christian County and 35 against Davis County, they don't really score a lot of points. Now, they did put up 52 against Central Hardin early in the season and 43 against Meade. So,
yeah, I do think they score. Yeah, well, I mean,
those were games with Davis playing, those games early in the season. And so I don't know, their next 2 games were against Paducah Tillman, Owensboro Catholic, and Mayfield.
I can just tell you, looking at their schedule, they're 4-6. That's I think if you're a Barren County fan, you realize what another team's record doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Central Hardin should teach us that lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the scores that just jump out at me. South Warren, they lost 33-43.
Mm-hmm.
South Warren is one of the top teams in the state in 5A.
Yeah.
They lost to defending 2A state champion Mayfield, who I may have only lost 1 game this year, 14-7.
Yeah.
McCracken County, 59-57. They beat a good Meade County team, 43-29.
Yeah.
So this team, they lost to Paducah Tillman. I think we know how good Paducah Tillman is.
Right.
That's 48-10, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not 70-0. And I don't know when the new quarterback has come in. It says he's played 5 games, but that doesn't mean he's been the quarterback at 5 games.
Yeah.
He's probably playing in some blowouts because the Brody kid is, he's been starting for at least 3 probably.
Yeah, he started
guessing.
in the McCracken County game, I know.
Well, he's 32 for 43, 9 touchdowns, and 515 yards in 3 games starting.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So he may be for real and so forth. But regardless, this team is good.
Mm-hmm.
But the team is it's a winnable game. Will Barren be the underdog? Yes,
mm-hmm.
They will be. We will be an underdog. But listen, I've seen enough first round playoff games with Barren where you knew beforehand you had no chance.
Yeah.
0 chance.
Yeah.
You just cross your fingers, hope nobody got hurt.
Right.
No shot.
Mm-hmm.
This feels different.
Yeah.
8-2 on the road. This feels different. So we'll see.
What do you think the keys are for Barren to win?
I don't know. I haven't seen Henderson. That's the problem. I don't know. I mean, just off the top of my head, the most obvious is you can't turn it over.
Right.
The turnovers is what doomed us against Central Hardin. So you can't have the turnovers. You can't have the crazy penalties.
Mm-hmm.
The jumping off sides and some of that stuff. The touchdown, the illegal block has been brought back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was better last week.
Yeah.
It's those things like that, and I don't think we'll shut out Henderson County. Just looking at our scores, we're going to score some.
Yeah.
But those are the little things. Keep the ball and be nice, and But it's turnovers, and you got to play pretty clean. Is my gut would tell me that's what you have to do. They got a good running back. I got a 1,000-yard running back on the team, and what's his name?
Anthony Burris.
Anthony Burris. He's got over 1,000 yards in 9 games. At times we've had some trouble with some running backs. Central Hardin, namely. But so we'll see. But I feel a lot better about us than, today than I did after last Friday's game.
Yeah. So it sounds like mostly what you just said is Barren County's got to play disciplined football.
Sure. Yeah.
Which seems like such a cliche, but I mean, it is often very much.
Yeah, and everybody, the old saying, everybody's got to do their job, but sometimes when you need to pull off an upset, somebody's got to make some plays.
Yep.
I mean, it's just what it comes down to. Sometimes there are those players out there that just have to come through.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the section on the Barren County Trojans here on the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, and we'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
All right, we're back here on the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow on WCLU Radio. You can hear it on 103.1, 104.7, whatever tickles your fancy, I suppose. And you can still catch it online. So you miss it when it's on the air, you can always catch it after the fact. We like to get these shows up there. This is show number 377 or something like that for us, John. Isn't that just crazy?
That is crazy. That's a bunch of them.
You didn't know. When I asked you if you wanted to do this 6 or 7 years ago, you were like, sure. You didn't know it was going to be like this.
I did not know it was going to have this kind of like a MASH, like MASH or or one of those shows that's lasted forever.
Yeah, or you get stopped in the grocery store and somebody says, "Hey, I listened to you guys on Monday." You didn't see that coming either.
I did not see that coming. No. Appreciate all the listeners.
Yeah. So and welcome to the news station. So we're going to break down this Glasgow football game from Friday and the season and their playoff matchup this coming Friday night at Union County. Ironically enough, 2 years ago, Glasgow played at Union County at the same year that Barren played at Henderson County. Things did not go well for our teams on that particular playoff Friday night. In the first
both
round.
Underdogs, though.
Yeah, they were both underdogs, and they both ended up losing pretty handily. But as we said about Barren in the first segment, I feel better about Glasgow going in this game than I did 3 weeks ago. Because before fall break, their offense was a mess. I mean, they just could not score. They could not punch the ball in if they got into the red zone area. They just were struggling on offense. Their offense has gotten better, but I think the biggest thing that has surprised me out of the break is they have a defense that can win games. Their offense doesn't have to do a whole lot because their defense is so good that they can keep teams in check. And really, as long as the offense finds a way to score some points, or in the case of the last few games, the defense scores some points for them, then they really can, I think, win games. And that makes me feel like they can go to Union County and put up a good fight. Mostly because Union County does not throw the ball. It's sort of like playing Hart County or, even Somerset when they played them the other night, which they won that game. I think the final was 27-14. And what I saw out of that is their defense is playing so well that they have a chance to even go on the road this year, despite being one of the worst record-wise years Glasgow's had in a long time. They're at 5-5 now. And despite having a 5-game losing streak in the middle of the year, this is not the same team that played, the first few weeks of the season. I think they are good enough to go up there and win. But Union County does have a running back that is outstanding. His name's Jaron Johnson. I believe he has he's run for 1,607 yards in 10 games. That's a 160-yard game average. He averages 3 touchdowns a game. He also is their leading passer, despite only attempting 39 passes. He's thrown for 321 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, I think is what it is. So I don't know what their actual quarterback does because I know he's a tailback. I guess their actual quarterback's job is to hand it to him, and then he does something with the ball. But it's kind of a fascinating matchup in my mind because Glasgow did a great job of slowing down Hart County, which I think was the #1 rushing team in the state when they played them, and they did a great job of slowing down Somerset's running game. They had a pick 6 in that game, so I feel better about Glasgow going in this game than I did 3 weeks ago, John.
Well, you threw a lot at me on that one right there.
Go ahead. Start where you want to start.
I want to start with, first of all, let's. I don't want to forget they just beat a very good Somerset team.
They did.
and I want to give them credit, 27-14. Somerset, the home of the Briar Jumpers, by the way, has a rich tradition. It's always a great game, and Somerset has a good team again this year. So for Glasgow to knock off Somerset, I think it's a heck of a win for them. Hudson Gun, 6 of 13. You go, well, that's under 50%. Yeah, but it's 183 yards and 2 long touchdown passes.
Yes.
Jalen Bradley, he only caught 1 ball. Okay, 65 yards, touchdown. Caden Allen, he only caught 1, 37 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Cameron Bull, looked like to me he was done at the Barren County game. I thought he hurt his knee. He's back, 19 carries, 119 yards. So they have found something. Again, teams don't – how you start the year and how you end the year sometimes is different. Teams evolve. Sometimes it's because of injury. Sometimes it's because of some changes that coaches like to make, and sometimes, and as long as you have the necessary talent, you can overcome things and get better. If you don't have the talent, you may get better, but you're not going to see the results. And it looks like to me that something after the break has changed. And when they came off fall break, to only lose 15-7 to Hart County, and Hart County scored late in the game to give them that win.
Yeah.
Hart County is still undefeated. They just knocked off Camelsville, who's the number 1 team in Single A.
Yeah.
So they're still undefeated. So that was a pretty good sign that Glasgow was starting to get it back together. Blew out Butler County. No surprise, Butler County is winless, I think.
Yeah.
But then to beat Somerset is, again, I was complimenting the Barren staff. I want to compliment Coach Garman and his staff and his players, too, for hanging in there. Sometimes when you lose 5 in a row, and you can, sometimes you start thinking about playing basketball or other things, but they found something, and give them a whole lot of credit. And they now have a real live chance, in my opinion, to go down and beat Union County. Union County is, I'm sure it's a good team, but if you look at the schedule that Union County played, they don't look like anything that Henderson County has played.
No.
I mean, no offense but their last games have been against McLean. I don't think I've never noticed McLean being, a state title contender. Trigg County, they beat 64-22. Barren wore them out too. Hancock County, Webster County has not had a good program. What does jump out, they did beat Greenwood 49-20.
Yeah.
That tells me they got some firepower because Greenwood's solid. But it's a game that if you tell me in here next Monday talking about Glasgow upsetting Union County, would I be surprised? I would not.
2 things. One is you were talking about the 5-game losing streak. Usually when a football team loses 5 games in a row, it's just because they're not good. They don't have the talent. Or maybe they're not as bad as they look. They just play a schedule that's so tough.
And they turned the ball over a lot during that stretch,
Yeah,
too.
they did.
A lot of self-inflicted.
Yes. Their offense could not score.
And you're right. They're defensively, they're solid.
Yeah. Because you even go back, even before the break, the Franklin Simpson, giving up 31 to Franklin Simpson was a byproduct of turning the ball over,
Right.
not their defense.
Yep.
So you look at the Adair County game, it's 21-14. That's 2 kick returns. The defense gave up nothing in that game.
That's correct.
So, even if you were to go to the Barren County game where they ended up losing 23-7, their defense put them in a lot of opportunities to win that game. They just couldn't do it.
True.
So that's it. Even in that 5-game losing streak for Glasgow, it's sort of like the 2 losses Barren has. If you look and you can say they could have won some of those games and probably should have won some of those games. So they have not been as bad as their record all year. But you're right. The proof is actually in the Somerset game, where you look at that and you're like, Somerset is a good team. They play a tough schedule. And Glasgow, the finals 27-14.
They led the whole game.
Really dominated.
Yeah, they
that
led
game.
the whole game. Right.
And one of the things Glasgow had not been doing much during the course of the year was getting big plays. So you mentioned the Jalen Bradley touchdown reception. Perfect little route that they ran. Perfect pass by Hudson Gum to put it on him while he's in stride. And he just outruns everybody in the end zone down the sideline. And then Kanan Allen's I think it's a wheel route for the fullback, and he just gets out there. He's a good athlete, especially for a fullback. Kind of same situation. Once he's in the clear, he's gone. Then they did some things that I've kind of been a head scratcher for me during the course of the year. They had one play where basically Jarek Martin just ran a go route and Hudson just threw it up, and Jarek Martin is so good he jumped up over 3 guys and caught it. And it's the kind of thing during the course of the season, it's like you basically have a guy who is indefensible once you put the ball in the air. If it's in his neighborhood, he has the best chance of catching it. And they finally just kind of trusted in it and made the plays. And those were the things during the losing streak they just were not doing. And going back to Cameron Bull, I think that's the best he's looked health-wise all season to me since the first game of the season. He made his cuts. The blocks were good. I think I got a couple of photos where you can see the hole he was running through was a mile wide. So the offensive line was playing better in that game, probably better than it's played all year. And so, yeah, these things have kind of meshed together to give them an opportunity. They're not what is it you said about somebody else, but they may be the best 4 seed in 3A. I would say they are, because that district's really good this year.
I agree.
And so, it's that district, the district once again this year that Glasgow is in is better than the Cross district.
Probably Glasgow's, I think they're better than Franklin. They probably should have at least been a 3 seed, which
Yes.
made things a little bit easier. Looks like Hart and Adair are the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
But probably the loss to Franklin was probably the worst loss they had.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like last year when they lost that game to Franklin, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong
Yep.
for them. But as you mentioned, like on the Union County side of things, if you look at their schedule, they played 3 teams that I kind of circle and say are quality teams. Madisonville North Hopkins is really good this year. They lost to them first game of the season 34-6. Murray, they lost to 33-13. Murray's good this year. I think Murray's got 2 losses. One of those is to Mayfield. But the Greenwood game to close out the season is kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because Greenwood's, going to go to the playoffs. They're a 5A team. It looks like a good win, but who knows if Coach Howard was kind of, resting some people. I don't know if he was doing that or not, but it looks like a quality win, but I'm not 100% certain. But I just know that the running back for Union County is really good. That's what I do know. And Glasgow has played defense well enough, especially against a run the last few weeks, that if that's what you have. And here's the other thing about Glasgow, if they force you to pass the ball, Jarek Martin, Kellen Stone, Kanan Allen, Jalen Bradley, those dudes they can snatch it up and take it to the house.
No, that's defensively, if Glasgow scores enough points.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, 14-20, they got a real shot to win.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of interceptions, that kind of thing, I don't think Kellen Stone had an interception on Friday, but he came into the game tied for first in the state in interceptions. He had 7. I think he had 2 he had returned during the season for touchdowns. And it almost looked to me in a way that a lot of times whenever Somerset was throwing the ball on Friday night, they decided they were throwing it to the other side of the field, which turned out to not be a good idea because Jarek Martin was on the other side of the field. So, I mean, it's kind of a great thing for a defensive coordinator to have, is basically say, look, I got 2 guys who can, if you throw it in their vicinity, it's a good chance we're taking it to the house on you.
Sure.
So that part was kind of amusing to me as I watched Somerset try to figure out what they were going to do. Anything you can think of Glasgow-wise or these playoffs and that stand out to you?
No, I mean, I think both teams, Barren and Glasgow, both underdogs going on a road that I do think both teams have a legitimate shot at winning. I mean, will both teams be favorites? Probably not, but both teams are coming off very good wins.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like momentum and nothing like confidence.
Yep.
And relatively healthy.
That's right. Yes, that is correct. The biggest thing, they're probably relatively healthy. All right, this is the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Back here on the Brown Sports Bag on WCOU radio. You can catch this every Monday at 4 o'clock. A little bit of a transition for us from being on the Score for I don't know how many every years we were on there. But, before that, we had the ESPN station we were on there. But
Did we get traded for like a number 1 pick?
Somebody got a bag of crisps and a Coca-Cola out of us, John. it was sort of like, what is it, the Ravens getting, dang, I can't even remember who they traded for, but the wide receiver. It was a 6th-round pick or whatever. Or Devontae Adams going to the Jets, that kind of thing. Yeah, they got a 6th-round pick out of us. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Caverna football. They actually get to host a home playoff game for the 2nd year in a row, which I think is the first time that's happened in school history in football. So, that's good for them. The downside was they lost that regular season game to Russellville, so they're actually the 2 seed. And I don't even know what to think about it because we talked about this before. That other district that they're matched up with that has Kentucky Country Day and Campbellsville and Louisville Holy Cross and Bethlehem is a really good 1A football district. And a lot of Campbellsville and Kentucky Country Day have beaten several teams this year that are also good teams. And I wasn't sure what to think about Louisville Holy Cross, which is who Caverna will be playing on Friday night, until I realized that they have this kid. His name is Jamari Pennebaker, and he's played in 9 of 10 games, but I know he didn't play in one game, and another game he must have been hurt in because he played sparingly in that one. But when he's playing, they are dangerous because he has 1,112 yards, 13 touchdowns this year. And then their quarterback, Jarek Hoover, who has thrown it, he's 103 for 175 and 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He's also their second leading rusher at 569 yards. So I'm guessing they're going to give you the choice. Which of these guys do you want to try to stop? Because otherwise you're going to be dealing with both of them. And prior to them playing Monroe County on Friday night, I thought, they're going to have a hard time with that setup. Because one thing that Caverna has struggled with this year is their defensive and offensive front. We talked about it all year. It's gotten better, but they still have struggled up front. But when they played Monroe on Friday night, I actually was more encouraged, especially on the offensive front, because they were running the ball pretty well against Monroe County. Monroe's a good football team. They're a 2A team. They're physical up front. They have Barren ended up beating them, and it was a close game at the end. Glasgow went to double overtime, I think it was, and beat them, or overtime and beat them 15-14. So, they are a quality football team, and I just thought Caverna played well against them, John, and made me feel a little better about this matchup with Louisville Holy Cross.
Yeah, no, losing by 12 is encouraging.
Yeah.
Scoring 38 points is encouraging. I think the Martin brothers had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And whatever back that Holy Cross has probably won't be as good as Mr. Martin.
Yeah. Either one of them.
Either one of them. He may be good.
Yeah.
But Caverna did give up 50 to Monroe.
Yeah. And
that's I have no doubt that Caverna's going to score against Holy Cross.
Yeah.
Holy Cross, by the way, is 5-5. They have, they've been competitive with, they lost to Campbellsville 36-7, and to Kentucky Country Day 33-19.
Yeah.
They just come off a win over a big 6A school, Butler, 42-12. Now Butler's not very good this year. Butler's only won 2 games, but that's a big school. So I'm sure Holy Cross is. I'm trying to compare. I don't think Holy Cross is as good as Hart County, in which Caverna played.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as Adair County. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the range of a Monroe.
Yeah.
Which makes this game a winnable game for Caverna.
Mm-hmm.
It's also losable. Caverna's a 2 seed, Holy Cross a 3 seed. Let's just be real. Caverna's coming out of a much weaker district than you've already mentioned that.
Yeah.
But Caverna can flat score.
Yeah.
And they've got some individual players that can really play. It's whether or not defensively can they hold Holy Cross. Can they contain them enough to give themselves a chance? Because I know for a fact, Coach Hayes and that group over there, they're going to be able to score on Holy Cross. I'd be shocked if Caverna didn't put up 20 points.
Yeah.
Question is, will 20 be enough?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm thinking when you kind of look over Caverna's season at some of their wins, and the ones like Muhlenberg County where they put up 56 or 26 against Eminence or 28 against Edmonton, and you even look, they lost to Russellville 20-24, and they had 2 chances to score in that game that would have given them that win. and 38 against Monroe. But in those couple of losses, they are a team that to beat Louisville Holy Cross, I think, has to hit that 28 and above range.
Okay.
And
It's asking a lot.
it is.
You're right.
But as you pointed out, with Kenyon and Tyson Martin, it's only asking them to be themselves, basically.
Yeah.
And plus, they've made a change at quarterback. They moved Jalen Crane back to quarterback away from wide receiver, and that allows them to put Cortavian Maxey and Russell Williams out at wide out, two like 6'3", 6'4" athletic guys. And now you have a quick athletic quarterback, which kind of makes up for some of the problems on the blocking up front, I do believe, because Jalen is sort of like watching Lamar Jackson in a way, because you think you've got him, but he's just so quick on his feet. He's not Lamar Jackson, you know what I mean, but just at a high school level, he's so quick that you are, as a defender, probably think you have a beat on him, and you really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows, some extended plays and that kind of stuff, or him to just scramble and put more pressure on the defense. And I think they are in a position now. I mean, that 38 against Monroe, I think, has proved this. They are in a position now where they can put up that 28, and it's not really a struggle. That's just kind of going to be what their normal scoring range is, probably. But that does mean the game is probably going to be a track meet. It's because you are turning around, you have 23, 24 players, and I know a lot of people do this, but if you're putting up 38 points and turning around and playing defense, well, you are kind of taking away from something that you're trying to accomplish on defense, just out of the fatigue factor.
Correct.
So, I mean, it does turn into a thing. Our mission is to outscore you. It's not necessarily to stop you, John. But, you were talking about Holy Cross's schedule. This is what we talked about with North Hardin and Central Hardin.
Holy Cross is a Louisville school, for
Yes.
people who don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in that neck of the woods where there are a lot of really good programs. And they play a number of them. They ended up losing to North Bullitt 32-29. I don't know anything about Providence out of Clarksville, Indiana, but they lost them 28-14. Now, Western and Jeffersontown, both of which they've defeated, are not that great. But then they played Atherton. They lost Atherton. They lost to them 49-26. And, so their schedule, despite the fact that they're in that neck of the woods, they play some of the bigger schools, but not necessarily some of the better.
No, they're not.
schools.
They're not playing Trinity or St. X or Mayo. No.
Yeah, or Manual, which is maybe the best school up there this year, best team in the Louisville area this year.
We'll see.
So, I mean, but they're just in that neck of the woods where there is a lot of good football played, and very often they do play a pretty tough schedule overall. It's obviously, there's nobody on their schedule, I don't think, who is a Ballard Memorial or Fulton County.
No, but I do like the fact that they have to come to Caverna.
Yes.
And I do think there is an advantage playing at home, getting the Louisville school out of Louisville, coming down to this area. I do think there is an advantage.
Yeah. And it is interesting because they played Bethlehem in the first round last year. And I actually thought, Bethlehem being in Bardstown plays a lot of the schools that are kind of in their neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to Caverna for Bethlehem was not that, didn't really mean that much because they play a lot of the rural schools. Louisville Holy Cross doesn't leave Louisville unless they absolutely have to, apparently. So, they don't get out in the woods very much.
Yeah, be a little different experience.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what do you kind of see? What do you kind of think about?
No, I think we caught it. For Caverna to win, they got to score.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
I think Caverna probably is going to be an underdog, just strength of schedule and so forth.
Yeah.
But not much. And can I see a path that Caverna wins? Absolutely. I definitely. They got some good players.
Yeah.
They got some stars on that team. I can see them definitely winning and getting to the playoffs last year. And playing and competing against Bethlehem probably helps them this year.
Yeah, because it's basically the same team they had last year. And look, these guys, the bulk of this team now is just juniors.
I know I coach Coach Hayes, Trevant.
Yeah.
He will instill confidence in them. There won't be any, we're scared of the big Louisville school. That's not Trevant's way. No. Confidence is not something he lacks. No. And as a coach, I do think it's important from a coaching perspective that the team believes in you and believes they can win. And I think they'll have that belief.
I hadn't really thought about the experience last year playing in the playoffs. For all of those guys, that was the first experience of that nature for them.
Yeah.
And this year they have played with a kind of we want to do that again, but do it better.
Right.
And I think, despite some of the struggles during some of the games during the course of the year, mainly I think about the Russell game where you get into a 24-0 hole and then you know, because you made mistakes.
That was a winnable game, kind of like Barren and
Central Hardin.
Central Hardin,
And or Glasgow and Adair.
Franklin more.
Yeah, Franklin more.
Right.
And so, you look at that and you look at the way they played that game against Monroe County and you think to yourself, all right, they really can probably do this pretty well in terms of they played that Monroe County game like a team that does have a chance to win in the first round of playoffs and has that belief.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all the discussion about the high school football. We're going to close out the last part of this show talking a little bit about some cross country and some college football. But first, anything else before we get out of the high school football?
Butler Green beat St. X.
They did. What a win that was.
Great win for them.
Yeah.
Great win.
I mean, they controlled that game from start to finish, too.
They certainly did. High school playoffs start for, 90% of the teams Friday?
Yeah.
There's a few teams in 5-district play that didn't qualify, but, we'll see. Most of the games, I'll just warn people, will be blowouts this week across the state.
Yeah.
I mean, a vast majority. The closest 1 versus 4 will be the Glasgow Union County.
You think so?
Yes. And I think that's the one game across the state in which the 4 will beat the 1. I think they can do it. Yep.
Well, that's a good call, John. The Glasgow Scotty folks will appreciate your candor in that situation. We appreciate your support.
I'm for them.
Yeah, I am too. Look,
I'm for the local. I'm for the local teams. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope all 3 of our teams win these games this week. And look, I was going to say this, and I forgot. This is the first year I can think of, and we said it from the very beginning when we did the pre-show before the Barren County game at the start of the season. This was a season that we believed all 3 teams that we primarily cover have a chance to have good seasons. 2 of the 3 have had better than their average seasons. Glasgow's has been down a little bit, but I think it's a charade in a lot of ways. It's a facade in a lot of ways, and that they were better than they looked during a large portion of the season. And this is the first time I can say, and not even be joking and not blowing smoke, that all 3 of the teams that we primarily talk about have a chance to win their first round playoff.
It'd be an interesting bet. Next week, will the local schools be 3-0, 0-3, or at least one of them wins 1 game?
Yeah.
I could see it being 3-0. I could also see it being 0-3. I think all 3 teams are underdogs.
Yes.
And I think the most likely, somebody's going to win.
I do too. All right. On that positive note, this is the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
We're back here on the Brown Sports Bag. James Brown, John Butler on WCLU. You can catch us every Monday from 4 to 5 on this here station going forward. You can catch us online anytime. You can listen to us on your phone in a little podcast app, or you can come to the website and check it out. So, the state cross country meets were this past Saturday. Barren County's Brody Miller, which he was selected as the boys cross country athlete of the year by the 4th region athletic directors. So congratulations on that award.
It's a great honor.
He's had a solid year, even though he's kind of battled some injury and illness. He's had some good races. He struggled a little bit at the region. I think he finished 5th. I think he finished 33rd or something at the state meet. He's a senior, by the way.
And we're talking about out of 300 too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
Right.
So many people running in that race. You're lucky to get out of the initial pack and not get run over in that race. And I'm sure because of those numbers, it might change how you start the race. You might feel like you need to get out quicker than you would in other races, just because try to get ahead of the pack, so to speak.
Yeah, it looks like Black Friday. When people rush to get into to whatever
snatch up all the Tickle Me Elmos.
Macy's or whatever.
Yeah, it's a race for Tickle Me Elmos. That's what the state cross country meet is. But anyway, he's had an outstanding year. The Barren County girls whole team qualified. They ran in it. I apologize. I didn't check out the total numbers, but You can catch those online. You can look at those. They're all posted and everything. And then the Glasgow girls also qualified for the 1A state, and they ran in that. Not quite 300 running in that one, but a bunch. So yeah, solid seasons for a number of our runners. I think Gracie Reed finished like in the 60 or something in the girls. She was the highest. Barren County, I think Adeline Coleman was the second highest, second place runner for Barren County out of all the Barren County runners. But yeah, the times were a little off. But man, that state meet course is pretty rough, John. So I mean, it's a tough. I've had people tell me, when they go to that state meet, it's the roughest one they run in all year, and a lot of them run some pretty high quality meets. But yeah, college football on Saturday, Kentucky played pretty well against Tennessee overall. Even though they kept swapping out their quarterbacks trying to find something that would work.
Well, I think the quarterback got hurt.
Yeah,
he did come back in, and I don't know how good Tennessee is. I think Tennessee's been disappointing. I'll be honest with you. They can't score either. But yeah, I mean, Kentucky has played pretty good against the better opponents. If you go back, they played really well against Georgia. Obviously beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So the better the team, they've been played pretty well. But Kentucky offensively, they don't have an answer at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. They're 3-6 now.
Yeah.
And the kid out of Owensboro came in and finished the game. He did throw a touchdown pass. He also threw an interception that was returned for a touchdown too.
Yeah.
I just think they're struggling at that position, and that's a position you don't want to struggle at.
Meanwhile, Louisville doesn't have that problem, and they knocked off, number 11 Clemson? Is that who they beat?
Yeah, big win.
Yeah,
big win.
They were all over them.
At Clemson. They dominate. If you just watch the game, defensively, this where they have come from the last couple of weeks, it's amazing, And again, it's like we talked about it in high school with Barren or whatever. If they could have played that way against Miami, or if they could have done that against SMU, it would have been nice. But like I said, teams evolve and teams improve, and sometimes those losses make you change and evolve, and that's what good teams do. And there's no better coach, in my opinion, than Jeff Brom, and that was a fantastic. I'll say this: Louisville is 6-3. I think this time last year they were either 9-0 or 8-1. I think they were 9-0 and lost their last three.
Yeah.
This team at 6-3 is better than last year's team at 9-0. They are 100% better at quarterback.
Yeah.
And they got a true freshman running back that's outstanding.
Yeah.
It's a good football team that's got a good quarterback and a good system. And they have an off week this week, and they'll come back off the bye week. I think they go to Stanford, something like that. But it was a great win for them.
Meanwhile, WKU, they have a path to win Conference USA. Now, they got the two teams left, Jacksonville State and Liberty in front of them.
They walloped Kennesaw State last Wednesday on national TV. Yep.
Yeah, their next game is this Wednesday, and so
no, it's Saturday.
Oh, is it Saturday?
Yeah, I think they finally get back to a Saturday game.
Okay. I just get so mixed up with
this. I think they played 3 in a row Wednesdays, and I think they come back to a Saturday. I may be wrong. I haven't checked.
But yeah, so they have the conference championship situation right in front of them. They got to beat the two teams that are. Well, Liberty was favored coming in, but now Jacksonville State and WKU are the only two unbeaten.
I don't think anybody's playing better than Western Kentucky.
No, they're not. I mean, both sides of the ball.
Only two losses are Boston College by 1, in which they led the entire game, and Alabama.
Yeah. So, yeah, they are in a good shape, and hopefully they can pull it out. And, that's the show for this week. Next week we will have basketball coaches on. I believe we'll have Kelsey Kirkpatrick and Warren Cunningham, and we're trying to get the others lined up, and it's almost basketball season, and we'll have the people on talk about their teams here on the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's Glasgow. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow.